When this little boy pleaded, "Bury my sister," the millionaire's epic response haunts forever. It was a cold, eerie evening in the sleepy little town of Maplewood. Shadows slithered across the streets as Henry, just 8 years old, knelt on the damp earth, clutching a tiny shovel in his trembling hands. His eyes, wide and glassy, reflected a sorrow beyond his years as he whispered, "Bury my sister." Those 3 simple words hung in the night air like a thunderclap, sending chills down spines and igniting whispers among those who dared to listen. What could drive a child to such despair? What horror had unfolded within the 4 walls of their quaint home? The townsfolk gathered, their breath visible in the night as they exchanged fearful glances. They had seen something dreadful, something no one spoke of. Henry's sister, little Mary, had vanished, leaving a haunting silence where giggles once echoed. They recalled the stories, the frantic search, each day slipping by with hopes diminishing fast. The children's laughter was replaced by nervous flickers of anxiety, and now, this sorrowful spectacle unfolded like a dark omen. Henry's eyes darted to the mansion on the hill, the sprawling estate of the enigmatic millionaire, Mr. Caldwell. Rumors swirled around him like a wicked fog. He was said to possess treasures beyond imagination, but at what cost? He was a man of wealth and power, yet his heart was a riddle wrapped in shadows. The townspeople whispered that he held secrets dark, twisted secrets that made him a figure of dread rather than admiration. And now, with Henry's plea echoing through the night, they wondered if he would even respond to the cries of a grieving child. Just then, a car engine roared in the distance, shattering the stillness, as headlights sliced through the night. The townsfolk held their breath, eyes glued to the approaching figure. The black luxury car came to a halt, and out stepped Mr. Caldwell himself, with an air of arrogance that bubbled just beneath the surface. Was he here to help? Or perhaps something more sinister? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Mr. Caldwell strode towards Henry, the boy fell silent, the shovel slipping from his grip and burying itself in the dirt. Fear transformed into something resembling defiance. What could this man offer him? Money? Power? Henry's heart raced, beating like a drum, caught between a desperate need for solace and the swirling distrust of the adult world he had come to know. Mr. Caldwell knelt before the boy, his eyes locking onto Henry's, and for a brief moment, the world around them faded. "Tell me, why bury her?" His voice was deep yet eerily calm. The townsfolk watched, anticipation thick in the air. Panic fluttered within Henry, but behind it lay a spark of determination. His tiny voice quaked, "Because she needs to rest." Silent gasps echoed, and a knot twisted in the crowd's collective throat. What weight these children carried, and what darkness had crept into their lives. The night cradled them all in its haunting embrace, a mystery unfolding as the stakes rose higher with every shared breath. As the town held its breath, one question lingered: what would the millionaire's answer be, and would it silence the haunting shadows surrounding the boy forever? Mr. Caldwell's gaze hardened for a fleeting moment. A flicker of something, was it pity, or perhaps contempt? Crossed his features before he schooled them back into a mask of indifference. The townsfolk shifted uncomfortably, still holding on to the hope that this enigmatic man could conjure magic from despair. "Rest?" he echoed, words sharp as knives. "You think she needs rest? What if I told you she's not gone at all?" Shockwaves rippled through the crowd. Whispers exploded like fireworks, igniting questions, doubts, and fears. Had he seen something? Did he possess a knowledge that eluded them all? Henry's breath hitched. Confusion clouded his young mind, and a flicker of hope ignited. Could his sister still be alive? Where is she? Henry demanded, his voice trembling with quiet desperation. Caldwell straightened, rising to his full height. The grandeur of his presence seemed almost overwhelming against the dim backdrop of that grim night. "That, young man, is a tale worth telling." He glanced at the gathered crowd, then looked back at Henry, his eyes gleaming with something both sinister and alluring. "But tales come with a price." Murmurs turned into gasps again. The weight of his words settled over them, heavier than the chill in the night air. A price? What could a boy like Henry possibly offer a man like Mr. Caldwell? "Anything," the boy whispered, feeling a sense of power swell within him, fear mixed with hope. He'd trade anything to see his sister's face again, to feel her tiny hand in his. Caldwell smiled, cruel and knowing. "Very well. Meet me at the mansion at dawn. Bring a trinket of hers, a magnetic memory that pulls at your heart. I will share my knowledge in exchange for it." The crowd gasped collectively. The weight of this moment bore down on Henry's small shoulders. He didn't understand the full meaning behind Caldwell's words. Was this a mere trick? Or an opportunity to uncover the dark truth? Glancing at the shadows cast by the mansion, a gnawing dread wormed its way into his gut. "You can't trust him," shouted a voice from the crowd. An older woman stepped forward, her eyes ablaze with indignation. "He's a monster." Caldwell turned, his gaze icy. "And monsters have many layers, dear lady. Perhaps your judgments are clouded by fear." Henry watched the exchange, his heart pounding like a drum. The weight of the crowd's fear shifted to his tiny frame. Could he really venture into the world of a man who was rumored to have a hand in darkness? As moonlight dripped onto the ground, illuminating the earth, Henry felt the comforting presence of his sister's spirit lingering in the hushed whispers of the wind. "I have to know," he whispered to himself. "I have to do this." The moment hung heavy, electric, as Mr. Caldwell turned his back and walked towards the mansion, shadows swallowing him whole. The crowd began to disperse, their eyes flickering between horror and curiosity. Henry knelt down and picked up his shovel, holding it tightly, trying to shield his trembling hands from the weight of uncertainty. What awaited him at dawn? Could he really uncover his sister's fate? As the last whispers faded into the night, one question loomed over Henry, like a storm cloud waiting to burst. Would he be ready to confront the darkness that had taken his sister, and what secrets would he unearth within the mansion's walls? Dawn would bring answers, but at what cost? Henry jolted awake to the sound of a crow's caw, piercing the thick fog that clung to the morning. The sun was still hidden, a timid shadow on the horizon, and the chill in the air cut through him as he hurried to gather what he needed. His heart raced, still clinging to the whispers of the night before. He slinked through the quiet house, careful not to wake his parents. They lay in a restless sleep, their dreams undoubtedly haunted by the loss of his sister. As he tiptoed past the door to her room, the weight of his decision pressed heavy on his shoulders. Could he really face Mr. Caldwell, the man everyone warned him about? In the dim light of the kitchen, he rifled through drawers, desperate to find anything that reminded him of her. Eventually, his fingers brushed against a small brass locket, cool and smooth, the last thing she wore before that terrible night. "Jessica," he murmured, the name barely escaping his lips as he clutched the locket tightly, its hinges creaking slightly as if recognizing the bond of a brother's love. It was all he had left of her, and now it would be his offering to a man he barely understood. With a reluctant sigh, he stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind him. The world felt eerily still, wrapped in a blanket of mist that muted the usual sounds of morning. The path to the mansion loomed ahead, dark and inviting. Every step felt like a trek into the unknown, uncertainty gnawing at him with each footfall. As he reached the iron gates of Caldwell's estate, they creaked open, revealing a garden that seemed to swirl with life, despite its abandonment. The weeds twisted like fingers reaching out to grab him. The air thickened, laden with secrets. "Henry," a dark voice sliced through the silence, making him jump. Mr. Caldwell stood there, his silhouette backlit by the pale morning light. "I see you came." The man's eyes danced with a cruel glint, setting Henry's insides churning with dread. "You brought the trinket, I assume?" "Why yes," Henry stammered, lifting the locket from his pocket. It felt heavier than he remembered, almost as if it had become infused with the weight of his decision. "Good," Caldwell said, his smile unnerving. "Come inside. The tale is best told away from prying eyes." Henry hesitated, every instinct screaming at him to turn back. But he couldn't. Not when the flicker of hope still burned inside him. The opulence of the mansion's interior engulfed him as he followed Caldwell inside. Shadows flickered, dancing along the walls, and a chill crept along his spine. The tale promised mystery, but the secrets here dripped with malice. "Sit." Caldwell gestured to an ornate chair, leaning forward with a predatory interest. "Are you ready to learn about your sister?" Heart pounding, Henry nodded, the tension in the air thick enough to cut. "Your sister is neither gone, nor entirely here," Caldwell began, his voice a low, haunting melody, weaving through the edges of reality. "What follows from this moment depends on your willingness to embrace the truth, no matter how twisted it may be." The door creaked again, a gust of wind sending shivers through the room. Just as Henry felt ready to absorb whatever darkness Caldwell would unravel, the lights flickered ominously overhead, then silence. What truth lay in wait? Would it be a revelation that would save his sister, or drag him deeper into an abyss? As the lights dimmed entirely, Henry could only wonder what cost he was truly paying to reclaim the pieces of a soul long lost. The darkness wrapped around Henry like a shroud, his breath hitching in the still air. Caldwell's silhouette loomed closer, a wraith in the absence of light. "You mustn't fear the dark, Henry. It holds the key to everything," he said, each word dripping with unsettling anticipation. "What do you mean?" Henry's voice quivered, echoing in the vast emptiness of the room. "Your sister, Jessica, she has a connection, a bond with this place." Caldwell gestured vaguely, as if the very walls held secrets that only he could discern. "But to unravel her fate, we must tread into the depths, the vortex." Henry's mind raced. The vortex? What does that even mean? Caldwell leaned back, the smirk on his face growing more pronounced. "A place where the past and present intertwine. The danger is palpable. But this is the only way to save her." The word danger struck a chord inside Henry, tightening his chest. He didn't know if he was ready for this, but there was no turning back now. "How do I get her back?" "Your locket will guide you," Caldwell replied, his voice softening to a whisper. "It's more than an ornament, it's a conduit. It will lead you to the truth. But remember, truth comes at a price." "What price?" At that moment, Caldwell's dark laugh reverberated through the silence. "Courage. A willingness to confront the darkness inside you. Only then will you be ready to face what awaits beyond." The lights flickered again, illuminating a glimpse of the room, dust-laden books, smeared portraits, shadows that bobbed and weaved like spirits. Henry felt a chill skitter across his skin and clenched the locket tightly in his palm, a fierce determination rising within him. He was not leaving without answers. "Show me," he demanded, his voice igniting with newfound resolve. Caldwell's eyes glinted with approval. "Very well. Follow me." They moved down a narrow hallway, where the air felt thick and heavy, almost alive. Each step Henry took echoed against the polished floors, the sounds lost in the shadows. The farther they walked, the more the world around him warped, as if the mansion itself was reshaping to accommodate their purpose. Finally, they arrived at a door adorned with intricate carvings, each telling stories of sorrow and loss. Caldwell pushed it open, revealing a room bathed in a shimmering silver glow. "The vortex," he proclaimed, his voice echoing against the strange ambience. Henry stepped inside, awestruck. A swirling mist filled the air, glimmering with hints of light and shadows intermingling. It was mesmerizing, soothing yet terrifying all at once. What kind of place was this? "Now," Caldwell commanded. "Place the locket in the center." With trembling hands, Henry followed orders. As he set the locket down, the space crackled with energy, a violent pulse that sent shivers racing down his spine. He stared, transfixed, as the mist began to swirl faster, forming shapes and faces he thought he'd never see again. A distant voice broke through, muffled yet unmistakable. "Henry, help me!" Jessica's voice. His heart lurched painfully at the sound, the yearning clawing at him from within. "Now, embrace it. Call out for her," Caldwell urged, a wicked gleam in his eye. "Jessica!" Henry shouted, his throat tightening. The world around him blurred, emotions surged, a mixture of fear and desperation. The mist swirled violently, echoing his call, as shadows danced like wild flames. "What is happening?" he shouted, panic infusing his voice. The room trembled, as if the laws of reality were unraveling before him. "Stay focused, Henry. She is here." Caldwell's smile had faded into an intense gaze, his eyes locked onto the swirling vortex, but just as hope began to kindle within, a deafening roar erupted around him. The shadows twisted with fury, challenging him, leaving Henry breathless, his soul hanging in the balance. "Henry, the locket!" Caldwell cried out above the chaos. "You must choose. Or lose her forever." What choice awaited him? With the world crashing down around him, Henry realized he wasn't just fighting for Jessica, he was battling against the darkness that sought to consume them both. Would he find the strength to save her, or would he be the one lost in the abyss? The answer loomed just out of reach, and as the shadows writhed, he braced himself for the price he might have to pay. Henry felt the weight of fear crashing over him as the storm of shadows intensified. The room trembled, and the very walls echoed with a cacophony of despair. He could feel the locket vibrating, pulsating with an energy that felt both familiar and ominous. "Choose, Henry!" Caldwell yelled, his voice urgent, merging with the thunderous roars that surrounded them. "The vortex demands a sacrifice." "What kind of sacrifice?" The question gnawed at him like an unwelcome guest. He thought of Jessica. He could almost picture her face, framed by the soft curls of her hair, her smile a beacon of light in this suffocating darkness. With every second, the shadows tightened around him, their whispers growing louder. Shadows of regrets, fears, and unspoken words clouded his mind. "No. I won't lose her." He cried out, heart racing, resolve hardening within him. Suddenly, a fierce ribbon of light spiraled from the locket and shot into the storm of darkness. It cut through the shadows like a blade, illuminating a pathway through the chaos. The faces and forms of long-lost souls flickered around him as if urging him onward. "Follow the light!" Caldwell shouted, his voice strained with excitement and fear. Heart pounding, Henry took a step toward the beacon, driven by a desperate need to find Jessica. But as he moved closer, the shadows seemed to howl, reaching out to snatch him back. They coiled around his ankles, pulling him down, dragging him into their depths. "Fight them! You must fight!" Caldwell screamed, but the shadows were relentless, fangs of despair clamping down on him. "Jessica!" He yelled again, as if his voice alone could pierce through the chaos. Suddenly, the mist around him swelled, morphing fast into vision images of Jessica. Laughter in sunny fields, quiet moments on a park bench, the feeling of her hand intertwined with his. He felt their bond like a lifeline, and in that moment, something inside him awakened. The locket, a connection, a source of power. In one swift motion, he ripped off the locket from its resting place and pressed it against his chest, feeling its warmth seep into him. "Jessica, I'm coming." His words rang out, more assured now, a storm of hope surging forth. "I won't leave you." The shadows recoiled briefly, but not for long. They surged back with a ferocity that nearly took his breath away. In that instant, Caldwell moved beside him, seizing Henry's arm. "You must merge with it. Become one with the vortex." "Merge?" Henry breathed, dread spiraling in his gut. "Your heart is the key." Caldwell pressed, his eyes intense. Only through complete sacrifice can you truly save her. Embrace the darkness. Could he really do this? Panic flared anew as he felt himself teetering on the edge of that dangerous cliff. But then he remembered Jessica, her laughter, her courage, and her unwavering belief in him. Together, he whispered, voice trembling with emotion. Together, we'll fight. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, allowing the shadows to envelop him completely, the swirling darkness wrapping around him like a protective cocoon. He heard the shadows murmuring their sinister promises, but in the depth of his core, he could feel a light building, his love for Jessica shining defiantly against the impending darkness. As Henry surrendered to the power of the vortex, he felt a rush like never before, the sensation of becoming whole, fused with the darkness yet untouched by it. He opened his eyes and saw the chaos swirl around him, the mist now brightening between the shadows. Caldwell's voice faded into a low hum as Henry stood at the crossroads of fate, embodying both the light and the dark. Will he stand tall against the encroaching void, or will he become yet another whisper lost within the vortex? As the intensity surged, Henry took a step forward, heart pounding, ready to face whatever awaited him next. Jessica. He called out once more, determined to unleash love's true power, ready to summon her from the shadows. But before he could take another breath, the whirlwind erupted into a blinding flash, engulfing them both. Could they triumph against the abyss, or would the vortex claim them? The world exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds, pulling Henry into an unyielding vortex. Instinctively, he clenched his fists, feeling the locket's energy surge through him, a volatile promise of power and sacrifice. He was spun around, the winds of the storm whipping at him like angry tendrils. Henry. Caldwell's voice persisted, trying to penetrate the chaos. Focus. It's your heart that channels the locket's strength. Keep your love for Jessica alive. The turmoil around him blurred his vision, but he could still feel it, the warmth of their bond, bright and unwavering. He pictured Jessica's face again, etched with determination and laughter. I won't lose you. He shouted into the tempest, praying she could hear him. Then, abruptly, the brightness expanded, and he was ejected like a bullet from a gun. He landed on cold, damp ground and blinked against the sudden piercing clarity. Henry found himself standing in what looked like a shadowed realm, a place between worlds, where remnants of forgotten dreams floated like debris in the twilight. Caldwell. He called out, but the only response was silence. It hit him hard, a sinking realization that he might be alone in this dark archipelago of lost souls. Anxiety clawed at his insides. Where was Jessica? No longer just a mere reflection of fear, shadows surrounded him, moving with intention. They whispered secrets tainted with despair, echoes of the very sorrow that had once bound him. Henry, a soft voice reverberated. It was a melodic whisper that both thrilled and terrified him. You're so close. Who is there? He shouted, frantically searching the dimness. Shadows flickered before him, distorting into ghostly images. Faces appeared lost and pleading. Let us free you, they murmured in unison, their voices thick with yearning. Each of them bore remnants of hopes dashed and lives unlived, stretching out to grasp his heart. That he took a step back, instinctively, but they swarmed toward him, pressing against his chest. No. He gasped, forcing his body to push against the tide. I'm not here for you. I'm here for Jessica. As if his words had conjured her, the miasma abruptly parted, and he saw her, illuminated in soft, radiant light. Jessica stood at the edge, a lone figure amidst the turmoil, her face filled with concern. Henry. She cried, her voice breaking as sorrow mixed with hope. His heart leaped, strength flooding back into him. I'm here. I'm coming. With every ounce of determination, he charged toward her, battling the shadows that clawed at him, dragging him down. Memories surged, those carefree moments, her laughter, the warmth of her hand clasping his. But doubts threatened to unravel his resolve. What if it's too late, Henry? The shadows hissed, voices warping into monstrous forms. What if you're not strong enough? Shut up! He shouted in fury. I am strong. I fight for her. I fight for us. The shadows recoiled at his defiance, but it wasn't enough. They lunged, desperate to reclaim him. His thoughts raced back to the locket. What do I do? He whispered, desperate for guidance. Suddenly, the locket pulsed in response, glowing brighter than ever, as if fed by his love and determination. Merge! Caldwell's voice echoed again, resonating within him. Merge with the light. Emboldened, Henry steadied his feet, allowing the energy to flow freely through him. He reached for the light, calling it to him like a moth to flame. For Jessica. I choose love. The surrounding shadows surged with a deafening wail, consumed in the brilliance that erupted from him. The bright light lashed out, striking the dark forms, unraveling their grip on him. One by one, they shrieked and faded into nothingness, but as the shadows fell, Henry felt an eerie presence lurking behind him. Something was still waiting, something darker than he had yet faced. With fear creeping in again, he glanced back at Jessica, heart in his throat. What else left? What else do I need to overcome? The shadows began to form a figure, a grotesque insidiousness that loomed closer. A voice rasped from the murk, chilling him to his core. You thought it would be that simple. And with that revelation, an unexpected wave of dread crashed against him like a thunderous tide. What did it mean? What deeper darkness awaited him? The air thickened, suffocating in its heaviness. The grotesque figure twisted into view, and Henry's breath hitched. It was a specter of pure malice, with shifting features that threw off the grotesque shadows that clinged to it like a shroud. Despair seeped into the space between them, tainting the light he had ignited moments before. Who, what are you? Henry stammered, fists trembling at his sides. Anger and fear coiled tightly around his heart. I am the embodiment of your fears, the creature hissed, its voice a shrill echo. I thrive on doubt and despair. You think your love can save you? Love is but a fleeting illusion, easily snuffed out. Henry felt the walls of that illusory realm close in on him, a crushing weight aimed at suffocating the flickering flame of hope inside. No. I refuse to believe that. He took a step forward, steady despite the tremors of uncertainty flooding his chest. Do you really think you can conquer me with the mere fragments of memory you cling to? The specter's smile widened, revealing jagged teeth that glimmered like shards of broken dreams. I know your secrets, your regrets. Remember the last fight with Jessica? How you yelled. How you let her walk away. Each word landed like a punch, and a hot wave of anguish washed over Henry. That fight haunted him, echoing around the dark expanse. He could see her face, the hurt in her eyes, the door slamming shut, a door that may never be opened again. That was a mistake. He shouted, his voice cracking. I was wrong, and I'd give anything to take it back. Would you? Then prove it. Prove that you have the strength to overcome not just me, but yourself. The specter surged, launching shadowy tendrils at him, snapping like whips, drawing blood from invisible wounds. As the pain lanced through him, visions of Jessica filled his mind. Her smile, her warmth, the way laughter danced in her eyes. I won't give in. He gasped. I fight for her. I fight for us. And yet the specter laughed, a sound that sent shivers racing down Henry's spine. You truly believe love can shield you from the darkness? It only reveals how fragile you really are. With desperation clawing at his throat, Henry reached for the locket again. Its light pulsed, flickering as if in rhythm with his racing heart. I want to lose her. I want to lose myself. The energy surged from the locket, illuminating the space around him. He felt the collective weight of every regret, every fear, and every moment of joy flood into him. Henry embraced it, allowed himself to feel the warmth of his memories, and the power of his feelings for Jessica. The light wrapped around him, forming a shield against the darkness. I merge with the light. I choose love. The spectre shrieked, a wail of rage and desperation, as the light pushed outward, forcing it back. But as the shadows recoiled, swirling around uncontrollably, Henry caught a glimpse of something even more sinister, not just the spectre, but an entire legion of darkness, rising like a tide behind it. Henry! Jessica's voice pierced through the maelstrom, filled with both fear and urgency. Jessica! Stay back! He cried, throwing his hands up as if he could protect her from the encroaching storm. Don't let it take me. You can't lose me again. Her words held a terrifying weight, a plea that rattled the very essence of his soul. But each step he took forward strained against the foundations laid before him, flowing from shadows that reared back, ready to counterattack. His heart thudded wildly in his chest as the darkness began to coalesce, a harbinger of chaos and despair. Henry knew he was on the brink of something life-altering, teetering between salvation and destruction. Could he battle this rising abyss while keeping Jessica safe? Would his love be enough to shatter the encroaching darkness, or would they both be consumed? As he faced the shadowy army, a chill raced through him. The battle wasn't just against his fears anymore. The looming threat was an awakening, and he was the key, but before he could act, a deafening roar shook the very fabric of the realm. Reverberating in his bones, what had he unleashed? And could he muster the strength to confront it? The roar echoed like thunder, ripping through Henry's thoughts, drowning out Jessica's desperate pleas. The shadows quivered, hesitating for just a moment. He could feel their pulse, dark and malevolent, waiting for him to falter. Stay behind me! He shouted, though his voice felt small compared to the chaos around him. Each syllable fought to tread water in the sea of dread. But the shadows pressed closer, the legion breathing like a predator, hungering for fear and despair. Just when it seemed they would devour the flickering light of hope, the ground beneath them trembled. It was as if the realm itself was waking, questioning Henry's resolve. Do you see it yet? The spectre taunted, its voice slithering through the air. This is your doing. You have summoned the darkness, your weakness calls forth the storm. No. Henry roared back, clenching his fists, the locket glowing fiercely against his heart. I call forth love. I call forth strength. His words surged like fire, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. The spectre shrieked again, the sound piercing through the cacophony like broken glass. You think you can hold back what you've unleashed? You think love shields you from regret? Visions flooded Henry's mind every time he chose fear over courage, every moment he let doubt win. He felt the weight of each choice press down on him like a mountain. Each regret tried to anchor him, to chain him to the past. But those choices don't define me. He cried. I define my own story. Around him, the darkness lurched. For every ounce of light he poured into that locket, an entire world of shadow recoiled. Henry remembered the laughter and the warmth. His love for Jessica was more than just a memory, it was a force, raw and vital. Behind him, he could feel Jessica's presence, like a tether. Henry, don't give up. Her voice urged, and for the first time, it felt like her words could pierce through the thick fog of despair. Heart pounding, he envisioned every moment they had shared, every smile exchanged, every argument that felt like the end but turned into reconciliation. He gathered those memories in his mind, lighting the path forward, and focused on the locket, pouring everything he had into it. Together, he whispered, as if sealing a pact. Then, raising the locket high, he shouted, we fight this darkness together. We will show it the strength that love gives. A blinding beam erupted from the locket, pouring forth like liquid dawn, illuminating the remnants of despair. The shadows hissed, faltering under the radiant light. Yet even as the darkness recoiled, Henry could see it reforming, more vicious, feeding on the lingering fear. We have to do this together, Jess. He shouted again, eyes wide, searching for her courage through the fog of chaos. At that moment, the ground erupted around them. Beams of light merged with darkness, creating a dazzling dance of contrasting forces. But from the heart of this chaos, a chilling laughter rang out. The spectre's wrath swelled again, growing stronger, feeding on the tension building within Henry. Your love cannot save you. It's a naive dream. As the walls screamed and trembled, a new sense of dread gripped Henry. Was this battle truly lost? Could love hold against a tide so monstrous? A flicker of doubt remained, growing dangerously close to extinguishing the light. Yet, a faint glow began at the edges of his very being, a whisper cutting through the gloom. He felt it again. The warmth of Jessica's spirit resonant within him. Turning, he locked eyes with her, and determination shone through. I won't let you down again. He pledged, affirming his resolve against the dark. But as their eyes met, a sudden darkness surrounded them. It felt alive, pulling them in, threatening to swallow the light whole. Just as panic threatened to take root once more, Henry realized something terrifying. The source of their undoing might not just be the specter, it could be the very doubts that lingered in his heart. Was it possible that the real enemy lay closer to home, within himself? Could he conquer it before it consumed them both? The shadows writhed menacingly, inching closer with every heartbeat. Henry's stomach twisted like a knotted rope. He could feel the weight of despair pressing against his chest, suffocating. The specter loomed heavily over them, an embodiment of everything that had ever haunted him. Your memories won't save you, Henry. It hissed, undulating with a sinister allure. You can't erase your past with sweet words and empty promises. What will you do when the shadows tell the other side of your story? Jessica's terrified grip tightened around his arm, her breath hitching. You have to keep fighting. We can't let it win. Her voice flickered, a small flame in the storm of darkness, but it bolstered him. Together. He shouted again, channeling every ounce of his energy into the locket's still radiating light. But the shadows danced around them, mocking his resolve. Together. The specter echoed, voice dripping with contempt. You are alone in this fight. The world is dark for a reason, because it reflects what lies within your heart. Images surged through Henry's mind, piercing his defenses. Mistakes he made, times he walked away instead of standing firm. Each one echoed louder than the last, flashing like strobe lights in his memory. They were going to break him, he could feel it. His knees were weak, his resolve trembling. No. He cried, pushing back with ferocity, I won't allow you to control my past. But the specter was relentless. Your guilt binds you, Henry. You think love is the key? Real love has always been sacrificed for selfish insecurities. Are you prepared to sacrifice everything? He could feel the tremor of doubt settling in, crawling up his spine. A chilling realization hit him hard. This fight wasn't solely about the darkness outside, it was about the chaos within him. Stop! He shouted, voice breaking. I am not afraid of my past. That declaration echoed in the void. It was a flicker of a flame against the ever-encroaching shadows, a bold line drawn in the sand. He looked at Jessica, the heart of his fight. I won't let you down. Not again, he vowed, but the desperation tinged his voice with uncertainty. Above the chaos, he locked onto her eyes. The memories they shared came rushing back in vivid bursts, moments that defined their connection. Her laughter. The quiet nights spent dreaming of futures untold. The way she fought for hope when everything seemed bleak. The shadows flickered, almost as if the locket's glow was unnerving them. Henry took a breath, grounding himself in that warmth. You're right, he murmured, focusing deep within. I can't erase my past, but I can learn from it. There's strength in my regrets. They make me who I am. He held the locket tighter. A surge of energy pulsing through it felt like a heartbeat in sync with his own. His voice rose as he shouted, Love isn't weak. It's the light that guides us through the dark. And with that, he released all of his doubts, his fears, channeling them into one resonant thought. I won't let the shadows win. The locket blazed brighter, bathing their surroundings in a silvery luminescence. For a heartbeat, the darkness paused, recoiling from the force of his intent. The shadows seemed alive, writhing, caught in a stasis of shock. But before a semblance of victory could settle, the spectre roared back, its laughter chilling the air. You think that's enough? You're still lost, just a boy with illusions of grandeur. You think this light will save you? Henry felt it, a cold hand wrapping around his heart, squeezing tighter. The echoes of the past stirred again within him, the echoes of his failures and unresolved fears. Jessica! He shouted, sensing the shadows closing in again. Henry! She cried, eyes wide with panic. In that split second, he realized the stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. If he faltered now, it might not just be his fate sealed in darkness. What if this spectre intended to take Jessica with him? Stay strong, he urged, voice cracking under the strain. But as he prepared to confront the darkness anew, he felt an undeniable shift behind him. Was there something lurking in the shadows? Something more? The air crackled. Henry's heart pounded. He understood, the Real fight was just beginning. What other horrors awaited them in the belly of this storm? Henry stood in the heart of the swirling darkness, words caught in his throat, but a steely determination wrapped around his spirit, a quiet promise to his sister. Jessica, he called again, louder this time, expecting no, demanding her to hear him. The shadows flickered, an eerie response echoing back. He could feel them approach, whispering doubts, taunting him with regrets and failures, but that only fueled his resolve. Each pulse of the locket resonated within him, a constant reminder of his love for Jessica, intertwining with the weight of his fear. This ends now, he proclaimed, channeling every ounce of strength. Memories flooded him, her laughter, their dreams, even the moments of pain. They lit a fire deep in his core, burning defiantly against the encroaching darkness. Let us end this together, Jess. He shouted, feeling the energy surge from the locket as he focused all his will and love into that shining beacon before him. The shadows writhed and recoiled, a dark tide meeting the light. Your weakness is a curse. The spectre screeched, its form twisting menacingly. You think your love can conquer me? You'll be swallowed whole. No. Henry shouted, refusing to be intimidated. Love is my shield. With his heart pounding, he hurtled forward, the locket glowing more brilliantly than ever, a hammer striking against the anvil of the dark. The spectre lashed out, shadows ripping through the air like clawed hands, threatening to engulf him. But Henry pushed through, fear shooting through him, mixed with an unyielding hope. Look at the light. It's stronger than you. He called out, as the brightness illuminated the faces of those trapped in despair. Their expressions shifted from agony to relief, if only for a fleeting moment. The darkness around him thrashed violently, an unforgiving gaze seeking to snuff out the flicker of courage. Face your truth, boy. The embodiment of his fears howled. You can't hide from yourself. Memories rushed back, every moment that had haunted him, the hurtful words thrown during their last argument, the warnings left unheeded. Each moment like a knife, digging deeper into the wound, but Henry welcomed the pain. No more. He screamed, channeling every regret into a powerhouse of resolve. I am not defined by moments of weakness. I define my path. With tears burning in his eyes, he thrust the locket forward, igniting a blinding light that exploded from its center, cascading outwards and splintering the shadows. The spectre shrieked, disoriented, buffeted by waves of pure radiance. Jessica! Help me! He cried, summoning her spirit like a beacon. Fight, Henry! She echoed from the depths of the chaos, her voice intertwining with the surging light, reminding him of the strength they shared. In that moment of clarity, he realized the choice was his. The darkness and the light battled for dominance, but he held the key to which would prevail. It was within him, in every cherished memory, every shared smile that anchored his hope. Together. He bellowed, embracing the fullness of their bond, allowing the radiant light to swell even further. The shadows shrieked louder, thrashing against the truth that tethered him to life. I will not lose you again. You will not take her from me. With every ounce of energy, he poured forth his love, igniting the very core of the locket, suffusing the air around them with iridescence that shattered the darkness. The shadows squirmed, helpless to resist the purity of his intent. As they disintegrated like mist under the sun, the spectre chest heaved, and for the first time, doubt seeped through its facade. No. This isn't possible. It screeched, dissolving into a flurry of particles. Together. Henry called out, his voice ringing true and unwavering, echoing in the vastness. In that illuminating moment, as the shadows evaporated, Jessica appeared before him, a shimmering embodiment of hope. Henry. He lunged forward, arms wide open, and grasped her tightly, heart flooding with relief. We did it. Together. Their embrace was electric, warmth enveloping them against the cold remnants of the dark. The echoes of the spectral form faded into nothingness, leaving behind an emptiness that felt boundless yet comforting. The dawn began to break, the first rays of sunlight piercing through the remnants of their harrowing ordeal. As the sun inhaled, touching the world with golden light, Henry realized the profound truth before him. You are the light, Henry. Your heart will always hold the power, Jessica said softly, a gentle smile easing his worries. He swallowed hard, sustainable happiness washing over him. Promise me we don't let fear rule again. It's a promise, she whispered, her eyes so full of love that his vulnerabilities faded. And as they stepped away from the remnants of darkness into the embrace of the day, Henry held her hand, holding on to hope like never before. Together, they had conquered the shadows, their bond woven deeper and richer than any darkness could hope to consume. The town of Maplewood breathed anew, cradled by warmth as they emerged united. Knowing they could now face the world with understanding that love would always overshadow fear. Let us go home, Henry said, squeezing Jessica's hand tighter around his own. They walked into the sun, light cascading over them as a new chapter unfolded, one where darkness no longer held dominion. And with the last echoes of despair behind them, the horizon gleamed with possibilities, as bright as the fire ignited in Henry's heart. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how crucial your support is.